So we're covering the ideal Rankine or Rankine power cycle. We've covered superheat, reheat. This time we need to move into regeneration. True? All right. We have already talked about the effect of the boiler pressure. The boiler pressure should be high. Why should the boiler pressure be high? Because that's where a lot of heat is added to the working fluid. And from Carnot, we saw very clearly analytic expression: bring in heat at high temperature into the fluid, reject heat at low temperature, great for thermal efficiency, good for performance. We care about thermal efficiency. So here is a plot that explores the concept of the effect of the boiler pressure on the efficiency. Okay, it also will cover superheat. But let's take a look. What's on the y-axis? The cycle thermal efficiency. We want a high thermal efficiency. You don't want to burn a bunch of coal to make electricity. You want to burn as little coal as possible to make electricity. True? So what do they have? They have different pressures. So this is the 6 MPa, this is the 8 MPa, and this is the 10 MPa boiler pressure. What is the condenser pressure? For all of these cases, it's just 20 kilopascal. Don't change the condenser pressure. Leave that fixed. In this plot, it's always 20 kilopascal. So the higher the boiler pressure, the higher the thermal efficiency for the Rankine cycle. Right? All right. Now, why do these plots start here? Well, look at this. What is down on the x-axis? It's a temperature in degrees C. What is the value there? I don't know, around 275. Guess what that is equal to, around 275? The saturation temperature at what pressure? At 6 MPa. And then guess what the temperature is here? Around 295. What's 295? Saturation temperature at 8 MPa. And then at the higher pressure, it has even a higher saturation temperature. True? So you can see that. Now, this is with no superheat, but what are they doing for each one of these as you can increase? That's the boiler exit temperature. So it's at minimum, it's the saturation temperature. You're coming out saturated vapor, but you could come out superheated. This is more and more superheated. What does the more and more superheat do to the efficiency of the cycle? It increases it. It goes up, not dramatically. Look, we're fighting for a few percent. We're even fighting for a fraction of a percent. But it's well worth fighting for. As an engineer at a power plant that spends a lot of money on coal, you boost it 0.1%, they're going to not just pat you on the back, they're going to give you a big pay raise. This is a mature field making electricity, okay? So people have really worked on boosting it. Then, if you do the same thing for a higher boiler pressure, the same trend. Superheat, 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 same trend, superheat, superheat, superheat. But you start getting out 500 degrees C, 600 degrees C, etc. You really run into metallurgical considerations which limit the maximum temperature. True? Let's explore the effect of condenser pressure. Condenser pressure on thermal efficiency. Is the y-axis the thermal efficiency? Do we like high thermal efficiency? Okay, right down here, what is the 10 kPa? What is the 20 kPa? What is the 40 kPa? It's all the condenser pressure for one fixed boiler pressure, right? And so here, we're taking out of the boiler 295 degrees C, 295 degrees C, 295 degrees C. It's saturated. Saturated vapor coming out of the boiler. What you want is you want a low condenser pressure. A low condenser pressure is good for overall thermal efficiency for the plant. Okay? And you still show the effect of superheat. You still show the effect of superheat at 8 MPa. Okay? Do you think enough people found their way over here to ask the first clicker question? What do you think? Yeah. It's pretty bad to keep moving classrooms, right? Sorry. But let's go ahead and ask the first clicker question. So here's the first clicker question. I'll turn this on. You can read it. I'll read it to you in a minute. But there you go. When the condenser pressure is decreased, the thermal efficiency of the Rankine vapor power cycle will increase, decrease, or remain the same. You have to read it carefully. Professor, I was just sleeping when you just talked on that last slide. Can you go back to that last slide? Nope. And we stopped. Sorry if you weren't able to get yours in. And then we showed the results. And what do you think? It increases. As you decrease the condenser pressure, yes, the efficiency improves. It increases. So A is the correct answer. Thank you for participating. No talking on this clicker question. You by yourself, okay? For internally reversible flow through a pump. You know, we studied pumps, right? You have inlet state 1, you have outlet state 2, so this is the in, that's the out. You can talk about the pressure in, you can talk about the pressure out, you can talk about the specific volume in, the specific volume out, all of that. And we're interested, the pump work can be approximated as, and here's an equation. It's the pump work, you understand lowercase w subscript p, you understand P times, and then in parentheses, V out minus V in units of kilojoules per kilogram. I will start the clicker. Sorry I didn't start it. I heard a lot of buttons pushing. So now I just started it. This statement is either true or this statement is false. So I'll take your clicker answers now. All right, looks like everybody's in. 5 more seconds. Stop it at 45. 2 more seconds. All right, we're done. Let's click it and show the results. Okay. What do you think? It's false. Why is that statement false? It's exactly right. You have to be just so intense on it, right? It is V times P out minus P in. I switched them. Instead of B dP, I put P dB. Will the units still work to kilojoules per kilogram? Yep, they sure will. Units will work. Units will not detect that error. Units will help you detect a lot of your errors, but it won't help detect that error. Notice, what is the difference between V in and V out for a pump? It's a liquid, incompressible, essentially the same. What's the difference between P out and P in for a pump? If it's a good pump, it should be a lot. I heard the word a lot. That's perfect. Yeah, it should be a lot. But what about this? V in or V out? Take your pick. Most of the time we take V in because we need to evaluate it at that state. But saturated liquid, something go in. So typically that's very constant. This is not one value through the pump. It's changing dramatically. So hopefully all of that helps to say, yes, this is not true. False, 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 false. Let's talk a little bit about a review before we get into regeneration. We need to get into regeneration. We'll get into regeneration. That's a method to improve the thermal efficiency. But we solved this problem last time. Do you remember? What did we have? We had superheated vapor coming out, and then we passed it through a turbine. Then we took it back for what? More heat to be added, reheat. Then we took it and passed it through the low-pressure turbine. This was the high-pressure turbine, first turbine stage, second turbine stage. And then we went to the condenser, etc. True? And I encouraged you, know the TS diagram. It'll help you. So I have a number of questions for you. Okay? So where roughly on the TS diagram is state 1? And I'll say, if your answer is A, you're saying that it's roughly, oh, in this area. If the answer is, that's A. This is where B is. This is where C is. And this is where D is. Roughly, oh, sorry, D is none of those. You have a choice. So I turn on the clickers. And is it roughly, state 1, is it roughly location A, B, or C as shown on the illustration? And we'll go ahead and stop. And we show the results. It's around A, is it not? Isn't it around A? So look, we know our pressures. This is at a high pressure. Given the problem, we've been playing with the 8 MPa boiler pressure, right? This is a line of 8 MPa right here. It goes down, okay? So it's got to be along this line. It's definitely not C. C isn't even the 8 MPa, all right? Now, we used to come out without any superheat. If we came out saturated vapor, B would have been the right answer. But we came out at 440 degrees C, not 295 degrees C, but way up here around 440 degrees C. Do you see that? So in pegging the pressure and the temperature, it's around that location. All right, so now we change it up a little bit and we say, I want you to help locate state 3. State 3 on the diagram. Is it in, oh, I don't know, this vicinity, or this vicinity? A, B, or C? I start. This is a B. That's a B. A, B, or C? Which vicinity is state 3 in? Or D, none of the above. And we stop in 4 seconds, 3 seconds, 1 second, and we're stopped. Well, a lot of people said C. Same thing. What is that pressure at state 3? Isn't it the 1 MPa? So it's on this 1 MPa line coming in here. And B works. C, A does not work at all. But it's a 1 MPa line, and it's reheated to 440. When it comes back out of that boiler, it's back up to 440 degrees C. It's been reheated up to that temperature. So it's, it's right in that vicinity of C. All right. Okay. Which state do you want to play with next? How about state, I don't know, 5? Where is state 5? Is it anywhere in this region, A, anywhere in this region, B, or anywhere in this region, C? And I stop and let you select it. A, B, C, or also D is none of the above. So you have 4 choices. Let's go ahead and stop it. And we show the results. Okay. Look at that. None of the above. All right. Where is state 5? It's at the low pressure. It has to be somewhere along the 20 kilopascal line. Right? And it's what comes out right here. What is the description of state 5? Saturated liquid. It comes out condensed. It comes out of the condenser condensed, saturated liquid. True? Do you like this game? Should we play one more? No? Yes? All right. Let's go for state 6. All right, state 6. Is it right around here, A? Right around here, B, or right around here, C. C. Or D, none of the above. Where is state 6? State 6 on the temperature entropy diagram. I'll expand the areas a little bit. There's A, because I think people are straining to see it. There's C. And there's B. There's B. I expanded the area a little bit. Get the letter outside, okay? So where is state 6? All right, looks like we're ready to stop. Stop. And, I did expand that area. I noticed when I first drew it, it was a little too tight, wasn't it? But I wanted to get it like this, so, okay? Okay, so the correct answer is A. Why is the correct answer A, Professor? Well, let me ask you another clicker question. A is true, B is false. Is S5 equal to S6? The entropy at state 5, is it equal to the entropy at state 6? True, A, or false, B? All right, we're stopping. Okay, I like to see that high percent of correct answers. That's good to see. So what it is it's isentropic flow through the pump. So if state 5 and state 6 have the same entropy, and what's on the x-axis? Entropy. Do they have to be somewhere located along, something like that, a straight up and down line? The two states. Yes, they do. So one is saturated liquid at the 20 kilopascal right there. That's where state 5 is. And state 6 right there. It's at the higher pressure, same entropy. Almost on top of each other on a TS diagram. Let's press forward. When we analyzed this system, there were a couple things. We liked that superheat, didn't we? And when we liked the reheat, the superheat and the reheat, what it did was we pushed out over here. So when we brought it down, it got close into the two-phase region, and it was still okay. The steam turbine works fine with a high-quality steam at the exit. It does not work well with a pretty low, like 80% or so, lower quality steam. It likes to be at 95 or so, high quality steam. But then when we reheated it, when we were pass it through, then it was again high again, okay? So we like that. Plus we're bringing in a lot of energy at high temperatures, which is great for thermal performance, okay? So when you look at the quality at state 2, that's right after the first turbine stage, and the quality at state 4, it's reasonably high. That's good for practical considerations, okay? But one of the deficiencies of this cycle, which promotes regeneration, I know that's a bad, not bad, it's a confusing word. What? Regeneration? That's an efficiency improvement strategy? Yep, that's what it is. So let's take a look at where do we still suffer? Where does this system still have an Achilles heel? Where could it, as a clever engineer, say, go there, improve the efficiency there? There's the weak spot. There's the Achilles heel. Where's that seen? Well, back here on our TS diagram, when you heated from state 6 coming into the steam generator, right, I pass it like this. It goes heat, 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 heat. How does it come out? It comes out really piping hot, 440 degrees C. What did it go in at? What temperature? 60 degrees C. 60 degrees C. It went in cold. What did it have to do? It had to be heated up. Some point it finally got to 295 degrees C, the saturation temperature at the boiler pressure. In this case, I'm using 8 megapascal boiler pressure, hence 295. What did it do from 60 to 295? Heat up water. At 295, what happened? You dump more heat in, changing phase, changing phase, changing phase, stays at 295 until it's all saturated vapor. You're boiling at constant pressure. Then from 295 saturated vapor up to 440 superheated vapor, what's happening? You're dumping more heat in, and it's going up in temperature. So think about 3 areas. You go up till it gets around 295, cut across, cut up. So this heat coming in here is just heating up the liquid. Is that heat being brought in at a low temperature? Bringing heat into a thermal heat engine cycle at low temperature, good idea for performance or bad idea? Bad idea. So as an engineer, you say, that's where we can improve efficiency. That's where I can help. Here, well, this is good. And this is okay too, good. Bringing it at high temperatures. All right? Now, how are you going to achieve that? See, from 6 to 7, 7 is saturated liquid at 8 megapascal or 295 degrees C, right? All right? You're bringing in 35% of the overall heat is going in just to warm up the liquid to get it up to the boiling point. And then 2/3 of it is the rest of making it boil and then superheating it. Okay? So you're just saying, you know, instead of this 1,060 kilojoules of kilogram of heat, get it from somewhere else. Where are you going to get it from somewhere else? Condenser. The condenser is at 20 kilopascal, and all the heat's being transferred out at 60 degrees C.
Doctor,
yes?
this state 7, I mean, that's not really something we're going to have to, I mean, you're just kind of showing us a concept with that state 7.
Exactly.
Okay.
To promote the idea of regeneration. So what you do is you just start looking around. Where in my power plant do I have some hot steam that may not be as valuable? And then you can look at it and you say, it's not as valuable here because it has a low flow exergy. But it's hard to think about flow exergy. Right after that first high pressure turbine. That steam needs to go back to the boiler to get a lot higher flow exergy. But you know what? It still has a lot of thermal energy. It's a lot warmer than 60 degrees C. So what they do is they reroute it. They come down here and they'll take some of it and go back and continue on. But they'll take some of it and bring it down to heat up the feed water. What's the feed water? The feed to the boiler. They want to heat that feed water going to the boiler. Don't bring it in at 60 degrees C. Bring it in higher. The higher the better. I don't think you're going to get it to 295. That's unreasonable. Right? Well, you can increase it by a little bit. It helps. It's going to help the performance. So what they have is what they call two types of feed water heaters we're going to cover. We're going to first talk about the open feed water heater. All it is 2 pipes in, 1 pipe out. It just mixes. So you divert some of the steam out down to this OFWH. All these acronyms, I'm never going to figure it out. Open feed water heater. Got it? Open feed water heater. 2 pipes in, 1 pipe out. Now, the pressure at 2, we already talked about that. Was that 8 megapascal or 20 kilopascal or some intermediate pressure like 1 MPa, 1 megapascal? It's 1 MPa, right? So if you're going to have 2 pipes coming together, merging, and then an outflow, and where you don't consider friction losses or pressure drops in pipes, you know, through the condenser, there's no pressure loss. In a real condenser, there is, right? So the pressure coming in here has to be the same as the pressure there. So the pressure at 2 is equal to the pressure at 6. That's a requirement. It's the same pressure. We really only have 3 pressures for the system, not 10 or 12. 3, high, intermediate, and low. The boiler pressure high, the condenser pressure low, and that intermediate, here we have running with 1 MPa typically type of pressure. And guess what the pressure is at 7? Is it higher than 2 and 6? Equal to 2 and 6 or less than 2 and 6? It's equal. It's equal. So the pressure at 7 is equal to the pressure at 2 is equal to the pressure at 6. Okay? I'm going to emphasize that. Pressure at 2 is equal to the pressure at 6 is equal to the pressure at 7. Here's a question. What other pressure is the same pressure? Don't call it out. We're going to do clicker question. So what other pressure? Is it A, is it pressure at 1, B, pressure at 3, or C, pressure at 4, or none of those? Which state, pressure 1, 3, or 4, has the same pressure as the pressure at 2, the same pressure as the pressure at 6, and the same pressure as the pressure at 7? Answer A, B, C, or D. Same pressure. All right, 6 seconds, 5 seconds. I've got to call it quits. All right, we're done. So what about the pressure at 3? It just goes through this reheat. Is there anything to drop the pressure from 2 to 3? So is pressure at 3 the same? Is the correct answer B? Is there any other correct answer? Okay. Is there any other place? We said that pressure at 6, pressure at 2, pressure at 3, and the pressure at 7 all have the same pressure. Is there any other place that has the same pressure? True? Just say out loud. Okay. 8 and 1 have the same pressure, and they're the high pressure. True? And this pressure 4 and this pressure 5, they have the same pressure, and they're the low pressure. 8 and 1, boiler pressure. 4 and 5, condenser pressure. 2, 3, 6, and 7 are the intermediate pressure. Okay? So let me do this. Once you get the pressures, think about putting those states along a line of 8 MPa for this problem, or along a line of 1 MPa for this problem as an intermediate pressure, or along a line of 20 kilopascal. Got it? Okay, I changed colors again, huh? Sorry about that. But all I have is 3 lines of constant pressure. Get your pressures down straight. Okay? Now I ask a bunch of questions because I need to make sure we understand this cycle before we move on. Where is state, I don't know, let's pick state 3. State 3. Where is state 3 on this diagram? Is it close to, I don't know, A, close to B, close to C? Which one? Is it A, B, or C? And, oops, I forgot to turn on the thing. Okay, now we're collecting the answers. State 3. State 3 is at location A, B, C, or none of the above. And it's superheated. It's way at that 440 again. It's heated back up, right? So it's at that 1 MPa. So A is the correct answer. All right. Now let's do this one. Where? Yes, sir.
If you don't mind, I noticed that the example in the text doesn't have the feet looking.
Yeah, pay attention, I guess, to just what I have up here, because you're going to have reheat. It's too good not to have it. They may have introduced the regeneration without reheat. They can do that, but I have it with it. Okay.
So disregard this and focus.
Well, the book is really good. I hate to say disregard anything in the book. It's just, as you know, that you're solving one problem here and you're analyzing another problem here.
Pay attention to state 3.
Yeah. Okay, let's do this. What I should do on this illustration is I should show a line like this, and I probably go back and change it such that you know that it has this pass through the steam generator. Just like it passes from 2 to 3 through there, it passes from 8 to 1 through there. I probably should add that, okay? Because I show it right here as passing through there, being heated on the reheat stage, and this is the original heat right in here. Okay. Now, this state 7 is very interesting. It comes out of that feed water heater. Now, what type of feed did we like to feed the pump at 5? Saturated liquid. We could feed 5 subcooled liquid. It would be fine. In practice, you probably do have a slight bit of subcooling because you don't want cavitation in pumps, and when you study fluids, you don't want cavitation in pumps. But in thermodynamics, we just feed it the minimum. We don't worry about cavitation in pumps. We just say it's saturated liquid, not subcooled liquid. What do you think is optimal for 7 to be fed into the second pump? Superheated vapor, two-phase liquid vapor, saturated liquid or subcooled liquid? Saturated liquid. Saturated liquid. That's our typical thing. Like, yes, that's what we feed pumps in these cycles. Saturated liquid. So now I'm running out of time, but where is state 7 in this diagram? And I'll just kind of point to a region. Is it in this vicinity, A? Is it in this vicinity, B? Or is it in this vicinity, C? Right? I'll start the clicker questions right now. So I'm looking for where state 7 is on this TS diagram. It's A, B, C, or D. None of the above is D, right? Yeah. We still have no, if the pump is perfect, okay? The pump is perfect. It's saturated liquid. It's saturated liquid. We already said it's saturated liquid. And everybody in, we stop, and we show the results. I think you're pretty good as a class, right? Yeah. That was a tough question. That was a very tough question. Okay, let me ask you this. It has to be along a line of 1 MPa, true or false? Let me try and show that 1 MPa line. So this C is no way is this C. C is not along a line of 1 MPa. And it's also saturated liquid. Saturated liquid means it's along this line. I didn't say saturated vapor, that side of the dome, saturated liquid. The left side of the dome, true? So where do we get the intersection of the left side of the dome and that line of 1 MPa? Around B, true? It's right around B. Isn't B the best answer? Okay, very good. Now that we know that state 7 was around here, B, I'm going to say this. I want to know where state 8 is, and I'll turn it on. And so what we'll do is we'll give you some options for that one. Here's A, here's B, and here is C. So where is state 8 close to? Is it close to A? Is it close to B? Is it close to C? Or is it close to none of the above? We're going to stop. We stop and we show our results. So here are the results. Now, a lot of people said C. All right. Let me ask this question. Okay. Tell me a little bit about the entropy in at 7 compared to the entropy out at state 8 for the pump. Are they equal? Do you think they're equal? I think they're equal too. So now on a temperature entropy diagram, is this a line of constant entropy? Is this a line of constant entropy? Or is this a line of constant entropy? The straight up and down. This is the entropy axis. State 7 and 8 are very close together. 8's a little bit above. A little bit above, right? So guess where it is? B. So all right. Did that help? Did that explanation help? Yes. Okay, so what you do is you go ahead and march around the cycle. Let's kind of do it fast. 8 out to 1, that's state 1. Expand down to state 2. Reheat to state 3. Expand down to state 4. Cool or condense to state 5. Pressurize to state 6. 7 is where you're feeding kind of a mix of sum of 2 coming this way and 6 coming that way to get to state 7 right there. Let me put it there. And then right up after the pump, state 8 is right there. You know what I mean? Just like 6 is a little above 5 and 8's a little above. Then once you're at state 8, you put it into, there's still some heating of the liquid. And then it's boiling and then it's superheating. But you got rid of this amount of heating coming from the external expensive fuel source. Maybe coal, you're burning coal. All right? So that's the efficiency improvement in it. Now, the challenge. You've got pressures. Get your pressures right. Get your entropies right. But what's different about this one is all the mass that comes out that goes through the first turbine stage does not go through the second turbine stage. Does more mass go through the second turbine stage or less mass? More or less go through the second turbine stage compared to the first turbine stage? Less. So what we have is we have the mass flow rate that comes out or through the first turbine stage, m dot T1. Where does it go? Some of it can split and go this way, and some of it can go that way. So it can either go into being reheated and continuing, or it can go down to feed the open feed water heater. You have to have some subscripts to help organize your thoughts here. But the sum of those two is the same. True? Let's say that this was 50 kilograms per second here, and 40 kilograms per second went on to be reheated. Can you tell me how much went down to feed the open feed water heater? 10 kilograms per second. True? All right. Now, let's do this. The mass flow rate that goes to be reheated, is that the same as the mass flow rate that goes through the second turbine stage? So if 40 kilograms went to be reheated, there's 40 kilograms per second that goes through the second turbine stage. How about, is it the same as the mass flow rate through the condenser? In my example, 50 went through the first turbine stage, but only 40 go through the condenser. Think about that for a minute. Only 40 of those kilograms goes through the condenser. 10 of them were diverted this way, right? Now, if we have 50, what is the coming out of the condenser and through the pump? The mass flow rate through the pump 1. It's still only 40. Okay? But when it comes into the open feed water heater, this one comes into the open feed water heater. This is 10 kilograms per second. This is 40 kilograms per second. What comes out of the open feed water heater? 50 kilograms per second. I take this slow because it's very slippery and students can make a lot of mistakes here. You may think it's trivial, but what's the mass flow rate through the second pump? 50. Is it the same as the mass flow rate through the first pump? No. Which one's greater? Through the second pump. All right. So once you have now the notion of mass flow rates and splitting the mass flow rates, you're going to be interested in calculating something like the net power out of the cycle, right? That's going to be the power out of the first turbine, the power out of the second turbine, minus the power into the first pump, minus the power back to the second pump. True? I need the net power out of the cycle, all right? What is the equation for the net power out of the first turbine? Would it be the mass flow rate of the fluid through the first turbine times the change in the enthalpy, H1 minus H2? Thumbs up if you agree. All right. How about through the second turbine? Is it the mass flow rate, the second turbine? Maybe I'm going to run out of room, but that's okay. H3 minus H4? Let me ask this question. Are these mass flow rates the same? No, they are not the same. Continuing on, subtract the mass flow rate through the first pump times, I'll put it like this, H6 minus H5 minus the mass flow rate through the second pump, H8 minus H7. I know you're going to get these delta H's by V dP, true? And this is a VDP, but this is good enough. Now I'm focusing on the mass flow rates. Is this m dot through the first pump? Is that equal to this one or this one? Which one is it equal to? The second turbine, that's right. And the mass flow rate through the second pump, is that equal to mass flow rate through the first turbine? This can get very confusing, but you've got to keep it straight. Now, we're interested in the net power. Guess what? A lot of times they like to talk about the net power divided by the mass flow rate through the first turbine. They didn't say the mass flow rate through what went through the condenser. They said the mass flow rate through the first turbine. They like the power of the net cycle divided by W dot T1, right? So if you do that, this is just H1 minus H2. This is plus M dot T2 divided by M dot T1 times H3 minus H4, right? Minus M dot P1 divided by M dot T1 times, I'm just going to put lowercase w of pump 1, minus 1 times lowercase pump 2, lowercase w pump 2, okay? Because this is a ratio 1. This is 1 times the specific work out of the first turbine. That's the specific work, meaning per kilogram that went through the first turbine, that's the kilojoules of work out. Then you have some ratio here. Well, what's that ratio? It's less than 1. They introduce Y. What is Y? Y is a mass fraction. This mass fraction right here is the mass flow rate that goes to feed the open feed water heater divided by what went through that first turbine. So this ratio of M dots is 1 minus Y. If 20% went down, 80% continued. 1 minus Y times lowercase WT2 minus 1 minus Y times lowercase WP1 minus lowercase p2. I'm rushing a little bit. I'm out of time, but please read the book carefully. Make sure you follow those equations. And what they're doing is introducing this mass fraction Y. It goes down to feed the open feed water heater.